There we go. Hey, is that saying yeah, starting recording. There we go. Cool.
There we go. Hello, Mortal Kombat fans. I'm here with Sean Chiplock, who's best known for voicing Noob Saibot and the um, ferryman known as Kharon in Mortal Kombat 11. Sean, let me be the first of many Mortal
Mortals,
Kombat fans.
prepare to be assimilated.
Let me be the first of many Mortal Kombat fans to say thank you for doing this interview.
Yeah, thank you for making the time for me. It's honestly, I need this to try and help myself get back into the groove because it's been weird in that as a result of the holiday, I've kind of been forced to take a couple days off because normally I'm doing auditions every single day, whether it's an interview or an audition or an in-person session. And the last like 2, 3 days, with the exception of like one freelance job, there's been like nothing. So I've been going a little stir crazy at home from not having the opportunity to be involved with my career in some way. So this is like the first post-holiday interview that I've had the chance to do. And I can tell right now, like my body is naturally getting some of its energy back because I'm
Yeah,
finally getting to discuss something related to voiceover instead of just sitting around at home playing games.
yeah,
So
yeah. Like the other day, you were playing Among Us on Twitch.
that was pretty fun. That was
Yeah, I
pretty fun.
was, and I still remember that joke that you said. Call me a Care Bear because I barely care.
I was pretty proud of that. There's a friend and I, so I'm a voice actor, and there's a friend of mine who's a perfumist, and or they work a lot with perfumes. And last night we were just on the phone. I don't know how it started, but we just started making so many jokes about voice acting and perfume, like terrible, terrible pun related jokes, and it was so fun at the same time.
Yeah. And yeah. The first question is, how did you land the roles of Noob Saibot and Karen?
So, Karin, I think, was a case where so it's interesting, and this doesn't always happen, but one thing that a lot of voice actors will tell you is that sometimes they will cast you off of a direct audition, which is that is the voice that we would like to use for the character. And sometimes you may not book a specific character, but they hear something that you did in one of your auditions that they feel may fit another character decently. So the second one that I just listed was an example of what happened with Karin, or is it Karen or Karin? I always say it wrong.
Uh, it depends
Okay,
on who you are. And
Karan. I'm just calling him Karan now. We're going with Karan. Karan on
this
the
is
top.
not this is not
Um,
the Muslim book.
yeah, there you go. They need to publish like an official Mortal Kombat pronunciation guide. We find out it's actually Noob Saibot. Anyway, so Karin was definitely a case where I did not explicitly audition for him, but they ended up giving him to me as a secondary role, probably because he only talks like what 4, 5 times over the course of the entire game. So
Mhm.
it's not something that they would want to hire a completely different actor for if one of the actors they've already hired can easily fit that in and just do a different voice for him. Um, Noob Saibot was definitely a more traditional audition process where they sent me the character sides. In this case, they were code named. I don't want to give away what the code name was, partially because I don't remember, and partially because usually that's proprietary information. But at the time, I didn't know what the project was for. I had an inkling of what it was for. Um, but I couldn't tell for sure. So I had to focus specifically on the character's name and or the code name to get an idea of what they would be described like. And the most important aspect was the actual character description. Um, I don't remember the specific character backstory, but I remember when it came to the voice specs, it was described very specifically as wraith-like, ethereal, not of this world. And that was very important because it almost uh, immediately clued into me that if this person either wasn't a human or was so far removed from what a typical human would sound like that it would give off the impression that they don't exist. And like the wraith-like ethereal was very helpful because it gave me an idea of okay, they are dead or they are they have a wispy form. which affected my first read. So when I did 2 takes for Noob Saibot, the first one was closer to being the wraith-like and ethereal, and I did a very wispy, hairy voice, like it was something on the wind, there and then gone in a fraction of a second. You know, just something that would, like, surround you. I almost imagine it as being like a specter that could envelop your body if you wanted to and possess
Mhm.
you and take control of you like a puppet.
Mhm.
So that was the first take that I did, and that dries out my throat a lot, so I'm gonna hydrate real quick.
Take your time.
The second one, I wanted to make distinctly different from that, and I know that the sides also said "not of this world." So what was really funny was this is around the time that Doom had been rebooted, you know, Doom and Doom Eternal. Um,
Mhm.
and so my mind immediately went there because, you know, going to hell to fight the demons is definitely not of this world. And so I had this idea to do a demonic voice as the second one, which would be low and guttural and a sharp contrast to the very breathy but also kind of weak sounding wraith voice that I did. Um, and so I took inspiration from Black Doom from Shadow the Hedgehog on GameCube. A lot
Mhm.
of people think it was related to Dr. Claw, and it wasn't. But Black Doom in that game
Is all the way down here. Shadow, you must collect the 7 Chaos Emeralds.
and so that one was still very much a throaty voice, but I wanted to do a sharp, sharp contrast.
So I took the voice that was here, and I brought it all the way down here.
And it took so much practice when it was easy enough to do the 2 audition lines in that voice, but when I got cast as the role and I had to prepare for all of these call outs, all of these battle quips, I was sitting in front of my desk.
Just seeing how long I could do this voice without my voice falling out, and then taking a sip of water and taking 5-minute, 10-minute breaks, practicing, seeing if I could say a longer line without having to stop for a breath.
Because being able to say all of those pre-battle banter lines without, you know, for example, if the line is I'm going to rip out, or I'm going to rip your spine out of your neck, it sounds more intimidating if I'm able to do it in one breath and go,
I'm going to rip your spine out of your neck.
versus going,
I'm going to rip your spine out of your neck.
because then it sounds like he's trying to catch his breath, you know, like he's
Yeah, like he's
not.
out of breath and
So it took a lot of practice to be able to do that. And that's kind of what helps separate it. You know, I tell people very openly at conventions, I don't pretend that this is a unique voice. I'm sure all of us have
A unique, demonic,
or some other voice that we can do that's in that range. But the question is, can you do it for 10, 15, 20, 30, 60, 240 minutes? And keep your voice intact and have it sound just as good at minute 200 as it does at minute 2, you know?
Mhm.
Okay, well that's a little exaggerated because for those sessions we were hard capped at 120 minutes. You couldn't do more than 2 hours. But that point remains. Imagine doing that for 100 minutes, much less 10, you know?
Yeah, and because you'll have to do many takes and stuff like that.
Right?
Like
And
if
like
it's
that
if
line. Go ahead,
like
go
the
ahead.
head wanted.
Just that line alone. Here, I'll do it one more time.
I'm going to rip your spine out of your neck.
So counting fast, that was about 7 seconds. I'd say it was probably closer to 5. 5 seconds of that voice. Now imagine doing it for 50 minutes, you know?
Mm, yeah. For anyone regular, like who's not experienced with voice acting, they would feel like they're about to lose their voice.
Yep, yep. And even I can tell you, as a working professional, I would go through like 2 or 3 of these in a single 2 hours. Like, here's my face for comparison. I would fill these up and drink them to empty 2 to 3 times per session, and I would still have to take the rest of that afternoon off because my throat would be fine, but it would start to sound kind of like this. And if I kept talking on it, then it would just end up sounding like this the following day. So I had to take good care of it.
And that's yeah, I can do some voices in my own like of my own like I'm pretty talented with like doing different voices and stuff like that.
Right?
Like I um yeah, I don't want to do them on during the interview though.
Oh, you're fine. You do what you want to do, man.
Yeah. Were you a fan of the franchise before you first
Mo-
went on?
Mortal Kombat, yeah, Mortal Kombat was a franchise that I definitely was not as involved in compared to Smash Brothers, but I did. It was like it had always managed to be a part of my life indirectly. Um, I played some of the earliest Mortal Kombats in arcades a couple times. I played one of the console versions at a friend's house when we were doing. It was kind of like a creative team performance thing. It was called Destination Imagination, and we went to someone's house. And when we were done rehearsing for the night, he invited us to try and beat him on, I think it was Mortal Kombat 2 or 3, whichever one had smoke. Um, and he would just keep spamming Smoke's counter move. And of course, all of us being brand new at fighting games didn't understand that what he was doing was a counter move and you needed to not hit him when he was like bracing for it. So he would wipe the floor with all of us, and it was not fun, but it was interesting. For me, the one that I remember, it was you'd have to help me remember. It was almost like an RPG Mortal Kombat. Like if you imagine like Prince of Persia, but with Mortal
Mm.
Kombat characters, and like you slowly gained abilities like the ability um to jump off of spike walls or to double jump in the air and stuff like that, and you were supposed to use it to like traverse through the land and get to the next story fight. So
I know what you're talking about. I think you're talking about Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks,
I think that's it. That's probably correct. Yeah,
where
yeah,
you can
yeah.
play as Liu Kang and Kung Lao.
Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah, Shaolin Monks.
So
Yeah, I've been a fan
uh,
since the very beginning.
I really enjoyed that because I have a soft spot for Metroidvanias, for games with like skill trees that you unlock over time. Especially, well, I mean, this is core to Metroidvanias, but especially any RPG game where like as you gain new abilities, you go back to earlier areas and you can access like treasure chests and like harder dungeons and stuff like that. I'm a real big fan of stuff like that.
Yeah, where you backtrack and gain rewards and stuff like that that you couldn't
Right,
before.
right.
What did you like the most about being a part of the franchise?
The team was really cool. They were super respectful of my vocal health. They had great snacks at the studio. This was I remember that the main director most of the time would call in over Skype or something like this, so they weren't actually physically in the studio. But they made time to chat with me, face to face on video. I got to see, concept art designs for the character, possible like, I are there DLC skins in the game or
Yeah,
okay.
you have to get them like either doing certain towers
Okay,
or
okay. I want to make
unlock.
sure it wasn't like leaking or giving incorrect information and leading people to think that there was like supposed to be skins or something like that. But yeah, they showed me like design process for Noob Saibot, so it was really easy to get into character. Um, and I really like uh, some directors will just give you a script and they'll say, "Hey, record these lines that are on the page," and you don't get a lot of context as to what's happening in the scene. What I really like about the team was that whenever we would have the battle banter and how they would talk about
Mm.
against specific characters, he would either explain how it was relevant to the story of the current game, or even he made no assumptions about what I should know or shouldn't know. He was very informative about, okay, so here's what this is a reference to. These characters used to be known as these people. Here was their relationship to each other. Here's what he thinks of this person. He's aware that they did this, or he just found out that they did this. So having that kind of information as an actor, excuse me, water burps, is very, very useful because most of the time we don't get to see this in action in the game world. We're envisioning it inside of our heads. And so the better a picture I'm able to paint, the easier it is to portray that and become a part of that world through the voice. I also think it was really cool that so there's a convention that I sometimes go to that's in Rosemont, Illinois, and that also happens to be relatively close to where the NetherRealm studios are. And so when they found out that I was going to be in the area, they offered to have me come by for a little day trip, and they gave me a tour of the facility. Like I got to see, some behind the scenes of people working on stuff. I got to see the motion capture stage. I think that actually was the day that the actor who did the motion capture for my character was just there. working on something else. So I got to say hi to the person who was responsible for doing Noob Saibot's movements, in the game. We got to take a photo together. Um, One of the TV screens was like randomly cycling through all of the friendalities or babalities or whatever the special fatalities they had in the game were. So I got to see like Noob Saibot doing the jump rope thing with his
Yeah,
partner.
the
It was it was super cool. So they're just a very chill group, and they're very passionate about what they're making. It was interesting learning about how like the bone crunching sound effects were often made by like crushing green bell peppers in front of a Foley mic. So I love learning little factoids like that.
or using a waffle cone, ice cream
Oh,
cone.
did they also use a waffle cone?
Sometimes they do, like when it's
Oh, that's so
like a minor
cool.
bone, like say, like if it's like a arm or something like that, you can
What is the coolest sound effect that you learned the secret behind what was making it? Like either in my case it was I would have never imagined that they used this to make this sound.
like when I was watching the behind the scenes like of the Foley sounds, I never thought that they would actually use like slime to imitate like body parts or blood splatter.
Ah, that's so cool. Was it like the silly putty slime or
Yeah, I think it was like kind of like what back in the day owned by Nickelodeon, GAC.
right? Yep. I
Yeah,
had
just
I
that.
used to have I don't know if you remember this toy, but I used to have what was called a fart cup. It was literally a
Oh yeah,
bunch it was literally a bunch of slime inside of a little cup, and it was supposed to be like the way that you pushed into it, like as it
yeah,
exploded around your hand, it would make a fart noise. It was
yeah. They actually recorded this one guy using like a plunger,
Yes.
and it made like a farting sound, like a
Oh my God. Did that
that
end up
made
getting used in the
everyone
game?
laugh. It was actually on their YouTube channel.
That's so funny.
Yeah, yeah, like the sounds of Mortal Kombat.
Right?
I think that's what it's called.
When you punch someone in the butt in the game, it should make that noise.
Well, I remember in the earlier games, like the 3D games, one of the characters, Baracho, one of his
Uh-huh.
fatalities was like that he would fart and light it on fire.
Oh my God.
And he would say either, "Oh, that was a stinky one," or "Oh, that was a wet one."
See, I love that they're willing to not take themselves too seriously.
Yeah, and I think Ed said it in it. Yeah, Ed said this in an interview when he was doing a thing for Mortal Kombat 3. Our philosophy here at Williams is that reality is boring. Um, no one would pay for reality, so that's why they make things outlandish and stuff like that.
That's cool. I appreciate. See, I love that mentality.
Yeah, and if you can't have fun doing your job, then what are you doing in the first place?
Yep.
You should have fun doing
I
what
agree. I
what
agree.
you.
I try to have fun in everything that I do. Every role that I get is a new opportunity to get to explore a world outside of my own. So,
Hmm. Yeah, I like doing these interviews because a lot of the fans say that they actually appreciate me doing them, and they
good.
say
Good. Well,
that I
hello,
provide
fans, and thank you for
high
supporting it.
quality,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and the community comes right to the interviews. And
Good.
yeah, before I did the interviews, I had like 80 something subscribers,
Okay.
and after I started doing the interviews, my subscriber count skyrocketed,
What's it at now?
like 220.
Holy shit. How many other Mortal Kombat actors have you had a chance to interview so far?
I interviewed Carlos Pesina, Daniel Pesina, Chris Casamassa, Adani Maropis.
My gosh. Let's go,
Yeah.
dude.
Like I interviewed 24 people prior to this one.
I'm proud of you.
And I even interviewed let's see here. Um like a guy who directed one of the episodes of Mortal Kombat Conquest.
Okay.
His name is Jack Shoulder. He
Yes. Yeah.
A lot of people know him as the director of Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's
Mm-hmm.
Revenge.
Mm-hmm.
But I interviewed him because he directed the episode of Mortal Kombat Conquest called The Serpent and the Ice.
Hey, was it a well-received episode?
Yeah, it is, because it has like Scorpion and Sub-Zero at
Right,
first
right.
joining forces against their will, and then
That's
later
cool.
fighting each other.
That's cool.
Yeah. Do you or have you ever studied martial arts?
Not extensively. I have done it indirectly as a result of trying to do some training for motion capture. There's a group called Mind's Eye Tribe that operates out here, and they are like well respected within the industry. Like they have world-class swordsmen, martial artists, Aikido practitioners, who get hired for like movies and like motion capture and stuff like that. And I have done some training with them, although it was mostly focused on it was what was called beast mode, which was about like adopting a creature stance and moving according to how that creature would move. But the group also does, different martial arts training regularly throughout the week. I joined them for an Aikido class to practice my movements and practice my breathing and stuff like that. I've wanted to get back into it just to help myself get in better shape, but thankfully, it's weird to say thankfully. I am grateful that the reason I haven't been able to attend is because work has been keeping me busy, because the whole point of doing the Aikido was to keep myself or expand my skill set so that I could book more work. And if you already have booked work that's keeping you from doing it, it's kind of a nice trade-off.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't taken any formal classes outside of those workouts, but it is something that I respect and something that takes a lot of dedication and is a little bit of a struggle for me because my muscle memory isn't the best unless it's like video game stuff or routines or things like that. But I would definitely enjoy doing it more often if I get the chance.
Yeah, and um, yeah, and also staying in shape also helps,
Yeah.
like with the breathing and stuff like that. Can also help with like when you're doing voice acting,
Hmm.
because it helps the vocal cords and stuff like that.
Right.
In fact, one of the Mortal Kombat actors that I actually talked to a long time, like 11 years ago,
Uh-huh.
um, the first Mortal Kombat
Damn,
I
11
actually
years
talked,
ago. I wasn't even in California 11 years ago.
um, Kerry Hiroyuki Tagawa.
Mm.
Um, he's not just an actor, but he also teaches people a breathing technique, which is
Okay.
called Chushin or something like that.
Chushin.
Which helps like oxygen get to all parts of the body,
Okay.
so that you're not like exhausted all the time,
Sure, sure.
and like helps you get in shape better.
Mm. Right.
And I actually he actually taught me some of that stuff when I was in recovery in 2011 from actually
Nice.
my appendix removed.
So what is it a process, is it a set of exercises or is it just one specific process that you do?
It's just breathing, like
Okay.
trying to,
Describe it to me. Let's do some Chushin together.
it's been years since I've done it.
Go ahead.
Like it's basically you take a deep breath,
Okay.
and you got to make sure that you're fully relaxed,
Okay.
and then you just let it all out till you can't
Is it
exhale.
is it like referential from yoga, or is there like a specific movement that you need to do to like embody the Chushin form?
Not, I think it's just being relaxed,
Okay.
uh, like and you'll actually feel like it, like all that fresh oxygen enter like your extremities and everything.
It is really surprising how much air your lungs can hold when you really take like a deep, slow breath. Because like most people go, and it's like it's
Like
noisy, but
quick,
there's not a lot of air going in. But if you genuinely just
like
silently,
slowly.
slowly inhale, even as it gets quieter and quieter when you're not talking, that is just all air going into your lungs. And then when you
Yeah,
finally breathe it out, you can feel your chest, your stomach, your shoulders all deflate. And you're like, where did all of that air go?
yeah, that's part of the things of Chushin. Like it teaches you like how to harness all that
Right?
and how to actually use it in your everyday life.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and I thank Kerry Hiroyuki Tagawa for that.
I
And
appreciate it. I'm gonna have to keep that. I'm gonna have to practice that today because I get very excited when I'm gaming. Like I'm always like hunching forward, which results.
mhm,
I don't know if it's gonna show it in this position, but I'm usually like this. Like my body's like folded towards my lower midsection, and I got to
yeah,
get
like
better about
hunched over and like
sitting up straight. Right? Yeah, yeah. I have had stints where like
all
my
that
legs are
posture.
spread and I'm hunched like that, and then I go to get up and it's like crack, crack, crease all over the place. So I got to
Yeah,
get better about, sitting up properly and like pulling my breath, consistently from my diaphragm and letting my body like actually support
that's
itself
exactly how it's
instead of
done.
letting gravity destroy me.
Yeah, kind of like meditation, so to say.
Oh,
Right.
I think you lost your audio. Can you still?
Can you
I
hear me?
can't hear you, but it looks like you can hear me. Let me double check and make sure that I didn't yank something out. Um, okay. Try talking?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Um, would you be interested in seeing a possible Mortal Kombat crossover with, say, Street Fighter or Killer Instinct
I
or
I always love when franchises collaborate with each other, and I feel like, that mentality of them saying, real life is boring, if we wanted real life, we'd do something less interesting than this, tells me that they are in the right headspace where they would be willing to do a collaboration. And I don't know if Street Fighter is trying to take like a more serious angle now with what they're doing with Street Fighter 6, but I would say if another company is interested in working with them, I think it could be super fun. But I definitely think it would work best if if it's a little bit more cartoonish. Like Mortal Kombat doesn't take itself too seriously, but it does get very, very, very violent, and that is
yeah,
kind of antithetical to what a lot of other fighting games do, where like everyone is serious, and Street Fighter is about like the honor of fighting. It's about the practicing of different arts of judo, of karate, of aikido, and then pitting those arts against each other in like a mutual respectful kind of like student practitioners training themselves against each other, right?
mhm,
Super Smash Brothers is about it's way more cartoonish in that it's not so much for honor as maybe Street Fighter is, but there's still kind of this element of all of the fighters are there to like prove themselves and showcase what they're capable of, but it's out of respect for their opponent. Whereas Mortal Kombat is always a lot more violent and a lot more we're fighting for the sake of our lives or we're fighting to take out an enemy. So they would definitely need to take a more lighthearted tone of I don't know how they would work it out, but I think it would work best if Mortal Kombat was not hell-bent on killing everyone in the crossover game.
yeah, like kind of like how they did with, dare I say it, Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe.
Yep. Yep. Which was kind of in the same vein as Injustice, if I'm correct.
Yeah,
Yeah. So maybe it would
the
also work if go ahead, go ahead.
yeah in the 3D games they actually had like real world martial arts
Hmm.
involved in the Mortal Kombat games.
I I think it would also work if they did something like they did with Marvel versus Capcom, either 3 or Infinite, where rather than fighting against each other most of the time, it's against like illegal clones of themselves or like shadow clones that were made by the big
Mhm.
bad. Because then that kind of gives the permission for them to teach each other about their respective modes. So like the Street Fighter cast could teach the Mortal Kombat cast, hey, these guys don't understand pain, they don't understand death, you have to specifically disable parts of them by hitting specific key points or something like that. And then
Yeah,
on the other vein, there could be parts where the Mortal Kombat people are like, these things can take a beating. You have to actually decapitate them, or they're not gonna, they're you have to remove their functions so that they're not able to pursue you. And so they kind of like dip into each other's mentalities a little bit.
yeah, and I think it would be pretty interesting if Mortal Kombat was um like to cross over with Killer Instinct because if you
Yeah.
were involved in the game, you could voice not only Noob Saibot but also Rash.
I
That
think
would
if that were the case, I think it would be cool if they let me stay as Noob Saibot, but at least made the attempt to get like the original Battletoad actor in the game.
mhm,
Just one because I wouldn't want to risk people being like, oh, it sounds similar to the same character, or they just use the same person twice. But also because usually when you have crossover games like that, there's a really big opportunity for nostalgia points, for bringing back people that haven't been a part of the franchise for over a decade, or for going for nostalgia voices from like the 80s and 90s or even further back. So I would love if they did that. I would love if they couldn't get the actor back, then fine, I'll take on both roles. But as long as there was like an iconic voice actor for that Battletoad way back when, I think it's worth the effort to see if you can get them to come back for another big hurrah,
Yeah, kind of like how they did with Kerry Tagawa. Like,
Mhm.
he was not only Shang Tsung in Mortal Kombat 95, but he was also Shang Tsung in Season 2 of Mortal Kombat Legacy, and then he was Shang Tsung in Mortal Kombat 11. Just like
Right.
they had Bridget Wilson, Lyndon Ashby, and Christopher Lambert return for their likeness and their voices of their respectful roles of
Right.
Johnny Cage, Sonya, and Raiden.
Yep.
They did that like out of a sense of nostalgia for the fans. And that's one of the things that I like about the Mortal Kombat franchise, because they sometimes do fan service, like they do it for the fans and stuff like that.
Yep.
And
I agree with you. It all makes perfect sense to me.
yeah, if given the opportunity, would you be interested in voice Noobs in any future games?
My mentality is I try to always remember that there's always other people in this, industry. There's always they should have their own opportunity to shine, and that at any point for any reason a director or a company may want to go in a different direction with a character. So, just because I voiced Noob Saibot once does not mean I should be guaranteed to voice him every single time he shows up. But with that being said, I'm always grateful for the opportunities that I get, and as long as they continue to feel that I am a good fit for the character, then I am more than happy to come back and reprise the character and get to explore a different facet of him or a different opportunity.
Yeah, like kind of like they had someone before you voice Noob Saibot in Mortal Kombat 9.
Right. Let's see. What was I? Wait, was I? Oh, you're saying they had someone different. Sorry, I misinterpreted.
Yeah.
They had it was it Derek Stephen Prince or who voiced him originally?
Let me grab
Noob Saibot MK9 voice actor. Jameson Price. That I knew it was something Price. It was either Prince or Price. Jameson Price was the voice of Noob Saibot in Mortal Kombat 9, but he did come back in Mortal Kombat 11 as like the match announcer. So he was the one going,
Finish him. Fatality.
Yeah, like the generic. Yeah. Before that, they had like Steve Ritchie for Mortal Kombat 2, 3, and I think it was like Hernan Sanchez for who worked at and still probably works over at NetherRealm.
Right.
And before that, for the first game, it was none other than Ed Boon himself.
That's right. That's right. And that was part of the reason why he ended up with the name of Noob Saibot, right?
Yeah, because Noob Saibot is a mix of the names of the creators of the franchise,
Boone and
Ed
Tobias.
Boon and John Tobias.
Yep.
But reversed.
That's so funny. I love that.
Yeah. You can come up with really interesting things if you set your mind to it.
Right.
Like they say in Back to the Future. If you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything.
Yep.
Yeah. Those movies actually have strong morals too.
Very good. I haven't had the chance to see them yet, but I'll have to consider it.
Yeah, like one of Doc's lines in the third film is like, your future hasn't been written yet. No one's has. Your future is whatever you make it. So make it a good one.
Mm.
I live my life by that. Because it's very sound advice.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, Christopher Lloyd is one of my favorite actors.
He's interesting. I wish I had the chance to meet him in person. So it's we've had a lot of unfortunate losses of celebrities and actors this year, and it's like kind of really dawned on me that like people are getting older. So
yeah, like last year, we lost the great Betty White.
Oh yeah. Wait. Did she actually die now?
Yeah, near the end of last year.
Oh, that's right. It was literally at the end of the year. Oh my God, because I remember it was always it was always a joke, like, Betty White dyed her hair today or something like that. And
Yeah,
it was right at the end of the year too. Oh my God.
and just a few weeks shy of her 100th birthday.
That's right. That's why everyone was so freaking bummed too.
Yeah, and on October 30th of 2020, we lost the great Sir Sean Connery.
Right.
And okay, um, how did you come up with the voices of Noob Saibot and Kharon?
So like I had mentioned earlier on for Noob Saibot, it was, kind of exploring the options for the audition sides that said Wraith-like ethereal, not of this world. For Karen, I want to say that on a different character, I had done an audition that sounded older or wispier, or maybe they even heard the first audition were like, "Hey, we like what you did for when it was kind of like this, but can you do it as an older man? Like, can you give us an older 60-something-year-old man who's operating a boat?" And so it's often about just making small changes, small adaptations to an existing voice that you have. So I would say the most likely cause is that they heard something in a different audition that sounded close. They trusted that I was capable of doing that a slightly modified version of that voice for Karen or Karen, and said, "Can you do this for us?" But Noob Saibot was definitely a more specifically targeted voice where they picked one of the two auditions that I did and said, "We would like you to do this voice that you did in the audition for him officially."
Yeah, yeah, and a lot of people are saying that the Noob Saibot voice is very reminiscent of Frank Welker.
Mm. A lot of people were actually convinced the first week that his trailer came out that it was Frank Welker doing it, which led to a very confused Frank Welker telling people on Twitter, like, "I'm not involved with this game. Please stop congratulating me." And that was how people eventually learned that it was me rather than Frank. And opinions changed. Like, for some reason, all of a sudden, when it wasn't a famous celebrity anymore, there were a lot more critical comments on the voice. But I thought it was interesting to see it unravel.
Yeah, like a lot of people were bummed out that Arnold Schwarzenegger didn't voice the Terminator.
Yeah, that was surprising. I wonder if he was offered it and decided to turn it down, or if they just didn't give him the opportunity to begin with.
Or he was probably busy with previous projects like, say, Predator Hunting Grounds,
Right,
and
right.
because he voiced Dutch in Predator Hunting Grounds and
Mm.
also lent his likeness. And if I'm not
Was
mistaken,
was Hunting
Terminator,
Grounds the new film that came out recently? The one with like the
Predator
female.
Hunting Grounds, the PS4 exclusive game.
Oh, it was a game. What's that new movie that came out? Because it's got like a female protagonist and stuff like. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, Prey.
Oh, Prey. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, yeah, and I actually saw it. It's actually a pretty good movie. And if you haven't seen it, I recommend it if you want to see something different.
I will keep it in mind.
Let's see here. What interested you in voicing the characters?
I got cast for them. Like, well, no, like I said earlier, I love when I get a chance to explore a different world, a different universe, and step into a different character's shoes and be something that I'm not normally. But I also like working and I also like paying my bills. So, it's this honest mix of part of the whole reason why I'm engaged in this career is because it's entertaining for me. I like playing pretend. I like exploring these different worlds. And when clients agree with me, when they hear my interpretation of a character and go, "You know what, we can see that, we really like how that sounds," then we collaborate together to bring something to life. So I wouldn't even say it's, what made you decide to want to voice the character or what interested you in voicing the character. It was really just he was one of half a dozen roles that I sent auditions in for, and I would have been happy to play any of them. I would have had a choice to provide for any of them. That just happened to be the one that I was picked for, and so I directed all of my focus and energy into that specifically instead.
Hmm. Yeah, because I remember Patrick Seitz was like the voice of Scorpion from Mortal Kombat 9, Mortal Kombat X, and then they had someone else voice him for Mortal Kombat 11.
Hmm.
Um, What inspired you to get into the field of voice acting?
It just caught me off guard, you know. I discovered it or figured out what it was during high school, and that was a time when I was trying really hard to figure out what I wanted to study in college, but nothing was really interesting me enough for me to, mentally be prepared to dedicate 4 years of my life to it and take a whole bunch of tests about it. Um, so it just happened that I stumbled upon voice acting during a holiday break, actually. I think yesterday was the 15th anniversary of like when I discovered voice acting. I gotta think 2007? No, it would have been the 16th anniversary of when I discovered it.
Hmm.
Yes, yes. Um,
So
and
2007.
yeah, 2007. Well, I started in 2007, but I would have discovered it during Christmas break in 2006, because 2007 January 1st is when I officially started quote unquote voice acting. Um, but I saw some videos on it, and I saw like an actor in the studio performing for a character that he was doing, and it just caught me in a way that nothing else had up to that point. It was like, I don't know what this is, I don't know how this process works, but I just want to learn more about it. I want to be a part of it. I want to do what this guy is doing. It looks so fun. And so that's really all the motivation I needed. It gave me an excuse to learn and to train and to see how I would do. And like the more involved I got in it, the more time that I spent on it, the more fun, the more invested I got. And it's just been this rolling snowball of, man, this is fun. Oh, now I feel even better. Oh, I've improved at doing this. When I'm dubbing the games that I'm playing live on stream and people are enjoying the voices that I'm doing, that just gives me even more energy. So it's really just keeping that going, just
Hmm.
keeping that enthusiasm, keeping that passion, and seeing what I can accomplish with it.
Yeah, kind of like how you did that type of Christian Bale Batman voice when you
Right?
were playing Among Us the other day.
I really like a lot of people don't know this one, but I really freaking like the Teen Titans version of Batman, like Teen Titans Go,
Mhm.
because every time that Batman shows up, he's almost completely inaudible. Like, there's the parody Batman
Who kind of always talks like this. And he was like very, very breathy and talking with his lower lip.
but the Batman in Teen Titans Go, like you can't actually understand what he's saying at all, and they just
Yeah,
react like they know what he's saying, and I think that's the funniest shit ever.
yeah. My favorite Batman actor was the late Kevin Conroy, and
Oh my God, why did we lose Kevin, man?
I know, and also the first Batman actor and Bruce Wayne actor I met was 30 years ago. I
Mhm.
met Adam West,
How was
and
he? Does
he
he
was a
does
really
he
nice guy.
is he as silly in real life as he was during the show, or is he like actually a lot more laid back in person?
He's a lot more laid back and
Okay.
easygoing. Kind of like when I met Robert England.
Right.
He was very nice.
Good.
Like
Well,
I thanked him for everything, and he said, "Hey, it was my pleasure. Thank you so much for being a fan."
I'm glad that they're respectful, because this always surprises me, but I have had parents, I've had families come up to my table at conventions and be like, you're such a nice individual, you're so chill, you're so, communicative and attentive, and I'm so glad that you gave us the time of day." And then I'll end up finding out about some actor that like only cared about what they were going to buy from him and like how much money he was making off of them. And I'm using he generally. I'm not referring to any specific actor. But it breaks my heart to hear that, because I'm like, these people might have traveled to come see you, and you're just robbing them of that experience, you know?
Hmm. And Kane Hodder, he said, "I don't think I'm better than anyone else, and I am very respectful, and I love my fans.
Hmm.
And a true celebrity is very humble."
A true
And
celebrity understands that their career only exists because of the fan base, because of the audience.
exactly, that's same thing with Mortal Kombat. Like, if it wasn't for us fans, it would have just been like one game and done.
Right.
But it was because of the not just because of the blood and the fatalities, but
Hmm.
it's because of the blood and fatalities that caused such a sensation that caused people to invest so many quarters in the arcades that they wanted to try this move or try to do someone else's fatality or something like
Right.
that.
Right.
Like that actually learned that this is something different, like something worthwhile. So something to get an interest in.
Yeah. So
And
I always feel like go ahead. I interrupted you.
I actually heard about Mortal Kombat through a friend when I was in elementary school.
Okay.
And I actually didn't play Mortal Kombat until I went to Montreal, Canada,
Mm-hmm.
and they actually had this when there was this one amusement park. They had like an entire dome dedicated to nothing but Nintendo.
Oh my God.
It looked like Bowser's Castle.
That sounds gnarly. That's so cool.
And at first I was really nervous about going in.
Right.
And so when I went in, I was looking all around, and they had various arcade cabinets, and like
my big weakness, I'm a fan of arcades that have a lot of arcade cabinets, but since you brought it up, or it's kind of segues into this, my big weakness is pinball machines. Like there have been some barcades that I've been to, especially in the Midwest, that have had literal rows of pinball machines that you could choose from, and
I can name one in particular.
okay,
Galloping Ghost Pinball.
What was it called?
Galloping Ghost Pinball, owned
Ooh,
by Doc
Galloping. Tell me
Mack.
about it. Tell me about it. I'm gonna look it up real quick while you tell me.
Yeah, it's like it literally has like wall
Oh, it's a
upon
place.
wall of
I thought it was like a type of pinball machine.
No, it's actually a building filled with
Oh
like
my God.
nothing but pinball tables.
Holy shit.
It
They've
has
got a
some
video
mad ones
walkthrough
too.
that you can look at.
Yeah, and the guy who owns that also owns Galloping Ghost Arcade, Doc Mack.
Doc Mack, yep, walks to the brand new. It's him giving the tour. That is.
Yeah, and I actually previously interviewed Doc Mack, and he's actually a good friend of mine on Facebook.
So wait. Apparently, allowing anyone who pre-ordered Predator and lost their money free access to play the game whenever they want. Was like there's supposed to be a Predator pinball machine that got canceled or something?
Yeah, same thing with Alien.
So how did he get his hands on it then?
I think he received notification from friends and stuff like that that actually worked at where they were making the table and stuff like that. And funny enough, the original voice actor for Shao Kahn is none other than the king of pinball, Steve Ritchie.
Oh my gosh, dude! If you get a chance after this interview, you gotta check out this video because like at like 8.5 minutes, I'll link to you in chat. At 8.5 minutes, he shows off the Predator machine, and it apparently is the only one in the world because of how it worked out. And it's true what he said. He's like, if you pre-ordered this and you lost your money, you can play this for free whenever you want. That's so
Yeah.
crazy. That's
Yeah,
so
and there's so
crazy.
many Jurassic Park pinball tables too. Like the first I actually played the original Jurassic Park pinball machine by Data East.
Right.
And I actually have fond memories of playing that at a bowling alley. And I actually played Mortal Kombat 2 for the first time at a bowling alley.
Wow.
And I played Ultimate Mortal Kombat. Like I played Mortal Kombat 3 at an arcade. I mean, like at a movie theater. And Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, I played at a game room inside a hotel.
I remember renting games for an hour on hotel TVs. That's a blast from the past.
And also, I've played Mortal Kombat 4, the arcade version, at a theme park.
So have you played every game in the franchise at this point?
Yes, except for Special Forces and
Why not? Why
Mortal
not
Kombat
Special
Gold.
Forces?
I don't have it.
But you gotta, I'm not saying you gotta beat it or own it. I'm just saying you gotta play it. So like, what is the easiest? Could you order it online? Is it super expensive right now?
I think it's really cheap. I'm not sure right now how much it goes for, but I can look it up on pricecharting.com and
yeah, after the interview, I think it's worth it. You know, if your whole thing is having the collection, why not, right?
Yeah, just add it for the sake of having it a part of the collection.
There you go.
Yeah, and and the last question is, did you record your lines at home, or did you
No,
go
we definitely did it. We definitely did it in studio. I believe this was well before the pandemic hit. So we would have still done everything in studio, and I'm grateful for that because this was before I'd done like a major overhaul of my home studio, and I don't know if the mic would have been up to scratch at the time. So I'm glad that we were able to go on like a professional equipment, you know, the same stuff that everyone else was using, and I could focus on the performance instead of having to worry about the technical aspect of it.
Yeah, because some people, I know some voice actors said that even before the pandemic, they would record at home and then send it in
Yep.
to the studio,
Yep.
or they would phone it in.
Yep. So, I mean, well, like literally phoning it in, like via. What do you just define what you mean by that? Like phoning it in.
I think they meant by like doing it over the phone and stuff like that.
It's true. There is VoIP or other phone patch options that they can do, but yeah. I mean, I don't pretend to know how the process works. So I do know is an option, but I would be surprised because in my experience, Sony really likes having people at their studio on their equipment. So I feel like they would only do that if it's absolutely necessary, where they're like, we must have this person on this project, and the person goes, cool, but I'm only going to record if I can do it this way, you know?
Yeah, but they're like, no, you got to use our stuff.
Yeah. I don't mind. Like, if they're providing the tech and I don't have to finagle with my gain or the microphone between, you know, sets of lines, I'm totally okay with that.
Yeah. And that's all the questions we have for this interview.
Yay!
Again, Sean.
Yeah, of course. I hope that this was entertaining for you. I'm very genuinely impressed by your collection. Is that all of the Funko Pops, or is there like a much wider collection to get?
It's much wider, and plus, these right here
Okay.
are in front of others.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Like say for instance, I take this one of Scorpion away.
Right? He's not as important. He doesn't get to see the light of day with the others.
Yeah, some of these actually won.
You actually won?
Yeah. Like I won a Sub-Zero one and the Flaming
Won them how?
Scorpion. Mortal Kombat trivia.
That's impressive. That's really cool.
I even have a Richard Epcar autographed Raiden hat.
That's cool.
That I won from playing Mortal Kombat trivia.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, and I actually have some Mortal Kombat autographs. Like
you're gonna get another when you come to Saratoga. It's gonna be cool.
Yeah, my first Mortal Kombat themed autograph would be Chris Casamassa's.
Hey, let's go. I like that. Well, I'll tell you what, I am definitely going to have to make some time after, now that you've told me about it, I'm going to have to make some time after this interview to go back. It's only like 11 minutes, but as a pinball enthusiast, I feel like I have to watch where it's in Illinois. Wait, how far? Hold on. I need to look this up. Brookfield to Rosemont. Let me see how far that is. Oh, it's only 30 minutes? Oh, holy shit. Okay, the next time I'm in Rosemont, Illinois for this convention, I have to go here to this place. Like,
yeah, it's not that far from Galloping Ghost Arcade.
Yes. And it's like barely 30 minutes away. Thank you so much for telling me about this.
You're welcome. And also, Doc Mack said I could actually film like the main parts of the documentary, like say me giving away, like telling the history and stuff like that.
Right.
He said that I could actually film at the Galloping Ghost Arcade.
You'll have to link if you ever get the chance to do that. You should send me a link over Skype, or probably Twitter is the better place to reach me. And I want to see. So let me know.
Yeah, and I said that I would actually mail you a physical copy of the finished documentary.
Oh my God, I would be honored. Thank you so much.
Yeah, like, and enclosed would be like a personalized thank you note and everything.
Aw. Well, we can definitely keep in touch. Like I said, Twitter's probably the best way. But yes, thank you so much for your time. Good luck with the rest of your collection, man. I look forward to seeing you in Saratoga. This was fun. I hope it's easy to say now, but my ADHD is a bastard. But I hope that I will get to recognize you before you say hi to me again. I'll be like, I know you. What's up? What's up, buddy?
Or who knows? I might actually dress up in one of my costumes.
Oh, that would be if you're like covered up and I'm like, hey, how you doing? Totally oblivious. And then you're like, do you know who this is? I'll be like, what? And then you take it off and be like,
Yeah, and you might actually channel your inner Noob Saibot when you see my character, like the costume that I might actually dress up as.
Hell yeah. We'll have to get a photo where like we are doing the Noob Saibot pose and like you're one of the characters in the duet, so to speak.
Yeah, well, I actually have a scorpion costume.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I actually photoshopped a version of me as Scorpion. I was at a Halloween party with my ex-girlfriend.
Right.
And one of my friends let me borrow their plush Koromon.
Uh-huh.
And I have a rubber kunai.
Oh my god.
Made it look like I was stabbing it. And my friend took the picture when I was doing that. And I actually took that picture, took out the backgrounds and everything like that.
Right.
And I actually put made it look like Koromon was spitting out blood.
That's
and I made it so that and also I changed the background and to make it look like the Nether Realm.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually had like the say Scorpion wins fatality.
That's so funny. All right. Well,
let me just hit stop right here.
Go ahead.